Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got Pazbi Zavatski coming to us from London, and he's got an interesting bio and background. He's an expert in digital marketing, AI, Web3, breaking barriers, and he is the dynamic entrepreneur behind Kickass Online. It's a company dedicated to helping SMEs grow their digital presence, increase sales through website development, AI driven solutions. And I'm really happy to have him on the show and pick his brains. Pasby, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself and we will dive into the questions.
Yeah, sure. As you said, my name is Pazbi. I'm originally from Greece. I'm half Greek, half Polish, but currently, for the past almost 3 decades, I've been in London, and that's where I'm at right now. I consult with a lot of clients, basically just trying to get them close to their dreams using tech. So that's really what I do. And yeah.
Yeah. And really interesting. And I know you're in what's really interesting is before this, you were in a co-working space in London. And it looks like a very, like a museum. And what inspired you to start Kickass Online Limited?
So I used to have another agency that I ran for almost 10 years. It was like 9.5, called Some Talented People. And as you may have guessed, the name led to some confusion with people. They thought we were a recruitment company or a talent agency. And so we decided to rebrand and restructure and everything for our sort of 10 years and decided on Kickass Online. I think it resonated more with our approach to things and what we were trying to evoke as an emotion when people thought of us is that we're out there fighting for our clients against all their competition. We're just that's really what we thought about it. And it's a bit of a Marmite test, the concept that some people like or hate things. And so if they see the name and it's got the word ass in it and they're a bit weird about it, then they're not really our kind of customers anyway. Like if they get upset about that kind of stuff. So it's worked really well. So literally today we're on celebrating our 1 year anniversary as Kickass Online. So it's been a really great journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And a follow up question I have for you is because you help small, medium sized enterprises, and what are the top three mistakes SMEs make when it comes to their digital presence and how can they avoid them?
It's varies. We do work with more medium to large businesses now, bigger as an enterprise or corporates. But I think with a lot of businesses, the biggest mistake they make, especially the smaller ones, is a lack of sales or marketing in general. People set up a business and they think that, okay, I open the doors, business is just gonna happen. People are just gonna show up at my office and hire me, or if they're selling a product, they're like, oh, the shop is live. That's it. We're in business. But there's 10,000 websites going live every 10 minutes. It's like 1,000 websites a minute going live. And those are all vying for people's attention. So if you're not screaming the loudest out of everyone or like letting people know that you exist, you're not going to get any traffic. And so that's really the first. And with that is the second is consistency. People post like once a week on LinkedIn or something, and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing marketing." No, bro. Like, you got to post like multiple times a day on different platforms and be everywhere. But you think about the Gary V's or the Alex Harmozis of the world, they're on every platform every day. Like whenever you go on any social media, you'll see one of their pieces of content because they've just batched it and programmed it. So I think it's about doing those things, like actually doing sales and outreach, doing marketing, and then being consistent with it. And you'd be surprised how many people don't actually run a sales process, or and okay, I'm going to call 5 people today and pitch them my product or my service. And I think a lot of people are just scared of rejection, and so it's the biggest barrier for small businesses. And they're paying people like us because they don't feel comfortable doing it themselves, so they need someone to help them through that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, and I know because I know you're big into digital marketing, Gary V and VCon. And the other question is with where do you see digital marketing headed with AI?
So a lot of agent marketing at the moment. I'm seeing that a lot more. There's a lot of, let's say, virtual influencers. I know with like Twitch and stuff like YouTube, you have the VTubers who are just like animated characters to represent people. But now we're getting to the point where you can have an AI speak on your behalf and it sounds like you and it could look like your face. And I think that lets people scale massively because then they can have, like, I can call, we've set up one for ourselves where it calls people and it sounds like a member of our team and it tries to book an appointment, right? And if somebody's, oh, but what do you guys do? It knows to respond to those questions, right? And so that lets us increase how much work we can do really quickly. So it takes out like 90% of all the outreach and appointment setting, and then it just books in appointments in my calendar. And then I just have to do that last bit. So I think a lot that's probably the future of digital marketing. It's just going to be AI agents doing a lot of the manual work and the outreach for us so we can spend more time speaking with actual clients.
Yeah. And because I know I've really AI is here and it's really exploded in the last 1 or 2 years. And now you're talking about AI agents. If somebody in their SME wanted to look into using AI agents, where would they go? Where would they start? What resources would they look to?
So I think the first thing to look into would probably be something like 11 Labs. 11 Labs lets you clone your voice if you want to, or transcribe things or narrate things for you. So you could create like a bunch of stories and then have the robot version of you read them out loud into a video format, for example. I think for most SMEs, that would help them a lot. And then another thing that they have is conversational AIs as well, which is what I was talking about. You can set it up with your phone or import a number, and then people can call that number and the agent will pick up for them. So then they don't need to hire somebody to watch the phones all the time. Like it becomes a 24/7 business. Like somebody's always there. Well, it's not somebody, it's some agent is always there to pick up the phone for you straight away. Like one ring and they're like, hello, welcome to XYZ business. And they can book appointments and even take payments. So I think that would be and that's just an easy thing to look into, just 11 Labs. It's very well known. And if they
Yeah.
want to go more into different types of AI, you can check out Hugging Face. Hugging Face is a great repository of a bunch of different AIs.
Interesting. And we have a question from the audience is it possible to create AI agents through ChatGPT or is it more complicated?
They're more conversational, so you wouldn't be able to do when I mean conversation like chat based. So you could do that, and you do that for things like chatbots on your website. They run, some of them run through platforms like ChatGPT or OpenAI. But the good thing about ChatGPT is you can create a custom GPT. So something based on your company and your information, or if you've written a book or you've done a lot of podcasts like yourself, you could put that training data, and then when people speak to it, it would respond about your business or your information or your podcast in a way that the normal ChatGPT wouldn't know how to do. So I think that's a really useful thing, and that's just really simple. As long as you've got a paid account for ChatGPT, you click on the top left hand corner, and you can add your own custom GPT. And they've got a GPT there that helps you make your own. So you just tell it what you want it to do, and then it'll code it for you. So you don't really need to know any technical aspect. You just have to be able to describe what you're looking for and have that information available. So it's a really good platform they have built. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's amazing if you know how to do things and you can really tools and you can play around. Next question I have is there's this whole area of Web3. It was big in 2022 and part of 2023. Then AI just took over the whole conversation.
Yeah.
And explain to the audience what Web3 is and then how it applies to the efforts that you're doing with digital marketing with Kickass Online.
Yeah. Web3 is like the next sort of evolution of the internet in terms of how we we envision it. So Web 1 is those very first, very basic websites that all they could do is just show some information. So if you remember the AOL period of time, it's just a
Yeah.
boring or like really weird looking HTML website. That's it. Web 2 was when we started having interactivity with the website. So if we wanted to basically have forms or checkouts and stuff, that's currently like the main internet that we use. And then Web 3 is the sort of next generation, and that's decentralized, user focused approach to the website, but using blockchain technology in the background to give us more control over our data and our to prevent stuff from being fabricated. There's a lot of like fake news and fake accounts and stuff, and hopefully through the blockchain we'll be able to avoid those situations. And then everything's verifiable. So we have this. And by the way, decentralized just means there's no one country or company that manages everything on it. Whereas at the moment now, you can think of like the GoDaddies or actual governments like the US government own. So anything that's .com would run through in some way the US government. Whereas with the Web3 approach, they don't have that.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I just came back from South by Southwest in Austin, and there was BlueSky, which is a decentralized
Social
Twitter.
media.
Yeah. And it's gonna be interesting because right now it's like you have Google, Meta, you got Twitter, and in all these social media, YouTube, and then just controlling everything. And but it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if it'll ever take off, but I think it's an interesting idea. So
Yeah. So there is
yeah,
a few other ones that are like that. So there's a platform called Farcaster as well.
yeah,
That's a Web3 sort of approach to Twitter, alternative Blue Sky, X, whatever. X formerly known as Twitter. But Blue Sky is really cool because you can actually open up your own copy of Blue Sky to add to the network. And then you can customize your name. So instead of it being like Pazbi.BlueSky, it could be Pazbi.Kickass if I ran my own server for BlueSky. So there's a few different ones, but I think BlueSky is the one that's the furthest ahead because there's a lot of hate for X at the moment because of politics and stuff. And so a lot of people are going to that one. I think they were getting something like 2 million users a week signing up to their platform. Billions or hundreds of millions, but it's still picking up momentum. So yeah, it's pretty good.
yeah. And because, like I said, do you think it's worth it to, because, like, for example, like you can look at TikTok and everybody was like, you have to get on TikTok because that's where all the attention is going. And then I built up a significant following, like 10,000, and all of a sudden TikTok is being banned and nobody's using it. So you think like Blue Sky and Farcaster are worth, or just pay attention to it and see what's going on, and then when it catches on, build a profile.
I think with all of these things, it's better to be first to the market than to wait for the market to go there. If you and you don't have to put a lot of effort into it because you can just repurpose your TikToks and your Reels and all the stuff you've already written and just publish it to Blue Sky. And because it's a new audience for you, right? So I think you
Yeah.
could always start that before it becomes big, and then you get to be one of the first people in the space.
Yeah.
Because even now, 90% of 90, even 99% of users don't post. They're lurkers, you know. So if you get to be one of the first 1%ers on the platform who are actually producing content, then
Yeah.
you're winning. And then if it gets bigger than X, you're going to be one of the biggest people on the platform. If it doesn't, it's still a part of your audience. It's not
Uh-huh.
costing. Like Threads, nobody really takes much care about Threads, but they're like, okay, I post it on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll copy it over to Threads, whatever. Some people like it. So
Yeah. Interesting.
it's more about just being omni-channel and just any place you can put your stuff, put the stuff there. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. It's like diversifying attention streams. And yeah, it was like, there was also another app, I think what was it called? It was called Clubhouse. That was like big
Oh
during the
yeah.
pandemic. And then now it raised funding from A16Z, I think, or it raised VC funding, and now it's nothing. like nobody's on there. But yeah, it's interesting to keep in mind there's other platforms and seeing where the attention is, and if you're early to YouTube or Instagram, it's like you have a lot of good YouTubers now. So you have Mr. Beast,
Mm.
and so really interesting. Next question I have for you is, and I love this idea of neurodiversity and what, because you're ADHD, and I also had another ADHD guest on the show yesterday. And why are a lot of entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs, they have ADHD, but they've learned to use ADHD to help them?
I think I was thinking about this recently because I've met quite a lot of people who are neurodivergent entrepreneurs. And if you think about the Richard Bransons of the world, who are virgin, he is very out about the fact that he has dyslexia and he's got ADHD, and that he didn't know until he was like 50 or something what a financial report meant. And so I don't, is that a good news or bad news? And I was thinking about this with the people that I know and stuff. And one of the traits from ADHD, which is common and everyone's different, one of the common traits is inhibition, like a lack of inhibition or impulse control. And I think that really helps when you're trying to set up a business because you don't think about sort of consequences of your actions, right? You just
Yeah.
go for it. And I think that's half the battle in being successful is just taking risks. And it's just about taking enough risks that you succeed eventually. So you got to fail a few times to get there. But for most neurotypical people, they'll be like, oh, I need to have a job. I need to save up some money. And then maybe the market conditions have to be good. And then, oh, I need to be making this amount before I can quit my job. And I was like, I'm setting up a business tomorrow. And then I just went for it. And it's like 10 years of, and sometimes you got to rein it in because like last year I closed 3 or 4 companies and because I set them up, done the branding, done the website, done everything. Then I'm like, great. And then I lost interest in them. And I was like, okay, I just left it for a bit. And then I was like, okay, I can't have 3 or 4 companies in my name and not do anything with them. So I just started closing them. And now I just put all the focus into this. And I think it's more about, because you mentioned about people learning how to use their brain types. And I think firstly, that's what helps with the diagnosis is getting diagnosed. And then you're like, oh, okay, that explains a lot about why I do these things. And then you're in a better position to put the support systems in place to actually use the brain a bit more effectively for your goals. So when I'm doing work, I know that I might get distracted and stuff. So I'll put everything on sleep mode and I won't get any notifications and I can just chuck along. But yeah, it's just about making sure that you have systems in place to cater for it. And I've met one guy who got diagnosed when he was like 56.
Yeah.
He's been in a business for 30 something years. His diagnosis right now doesn't really help him much other than him having a little bit more clarity. But he's already built those systems subconsciously. Like he knew something wasn't right, so he fixed his environment. And I think that's a common trait for people who haven't diagnosed like late into their lives is that they've made it work because otherwise they wouldn't have made it that far. So I think it's a mix of things, but having that clarity through a diagnosis helps. And then just having a support network or systems in place to help harness all of that chaos and energy into a useful goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've met, like, in my career, I've met some like brilliant colleagues. Like they could study the night before and just ace the exam, like their med school exams. And then like me, I was like had to like really work at it, and I had to dumb myself down through the school system until you awaken your genius. The other question I have for you is really interesting because you're a digital nomad, because you built Kickass Online in London, which is a very vibrant, dynamic city. And so for entrepreneurs and people that are interested in this lifestyle freedom, can live, work, travel anywhere, what are the best places, like the most dynamic places with entrepreneurs, digital nomads, great vibrancy? Austin is a great place, San Francisco, New York City here, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I've been to a few states in America. I like Texas. So I like the West Coast as well. I have family up in Burbank. We were there just last summer. And you have to balance it with your sort of like cash flow and living costs, right? So LA tricky place to live the lifestyle. So maybe Thailand, you get a bit more bang for your buck, right? But then
Yeah.
you gotta, depending on your business, like if you've got a nice SaaS and it just works 24/7 and you get recurring revenue, then great. The time zone's not really important. But if you've
Uh-huh.
got clients, you got to be able to cater to their time zones. So for people in the UK, we got to stay south is a bit nice. So South Africa is a great location because the same
Uh-huh.
time zone as the UK, but it's
Uh-huh.
a fifth of the living cost.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Uh,
Yeah. Wow.
so that you get a lot of bang for your buck. And then Europe as well, you get to travel. A lot of countries have digital nomad visas and stuff. If you can show that you make a certain amount of money or you
Yeah.
have a contract. So I know Portugal is very good. They have very nice tax incentives as well. And even if you want to go a bit more further afield, Japan's got a new visa for nomads as well. I think you only have to prove the equivalent of like 25K of like money coming into your account. And then you can get that for a year or something. And then you can renew it. So the world's your oyster. But I would say if you're in a business where you can work remotely, your clients they don't expect you to be there in person, you have to travel the world. You have to there's always offers as well. So if you're like a proper digital nomad, you'll just hop around. And the US passport's still one of the strongest in the world. So if you're a US citizen, you get to travel all over the place. I was looking at the Skyscanner. They have like deals on flights. I could
Yeah.
go to some places in Europe for £22. And I'm like, that's cheaper. That's cheaper than a train ticket in London. Yeah, it's not an excuse. They're like, oh, flights are expensive. I'm like, you just got to find the right flights, plan it out. But I
Wow.
think you just need a little bit of planning, a little bit of courage, and then you can make do. But there's so
Yeah.
many places to go. You can't really. A lot of people go to Dubai because of the tax incentives there as well. There's no income tax and very low corporate tax and stuff like that. Like I said, the world's yours to go wherever you like.
Yeah. It's really interesting in this day of geopolitics. You can arbitrage different, like here, a lot of people go to Colombia. Colombia is big now, and like Argentina is big. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Portugal and South Africa. Really interesting. If people wanted to learn more about you, connect with you, check out Kickass Online, see if it aligns with their goals, how could they do that?
Yeah, well, you could just search for Pazbi, Pazbi, on Google. I'm the only one for 5-6 pages. So you could check out my blog. It's thepazbi.com. Pazbi. Pazbi.com was taken. It's not my fault. Long story. And or you could just visit kickassonline.com for the business. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed this talk and very inspiring, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Chris. Likewise.